You might have seen in my last video, I talked about Git local ignores for the project and Git global ignore for your computer, your desktop, your laptop, or whatever it is, your environment, and how the differences are quite important even though they're subtle. Well, recently, GitHub has just brought out, you can see on my screen behind me, a kind of Git Ignore or GitHub Repo Ignore. So it says, say goodbye to unwanted files cluttering your repos. I mean, this is the importance of the Git Ignores, both of them. But it's quite interesting that they're adding it to their UI. So all your branches, not specific to a branch, can ignore these files. And so I wonder if it rejects the commit. I mean, that's what I'm understanding. So you can still commit, because remember, you commit locally and then you push it up to the repo. So the push will get rejected. So sometimes we get pushes rejected because our branch is out of date or something like that. In this instance, I'm guessing the result is going to be that you've got files in your commit that shouldn't be there. I think that's a great idea for kind of absolute kind of rules, keep your project really clean. But the challenge here is people then need to undo their commit so they can push it, or they need to edit it. And there's different ways you can do it. And I think that might present other challenges, because people who undo their commit might undo someone else's if they've just done a pull. So when they do a git reset, say soft, the last commit, if they've just done a pull before that, because that's the first thing people do when their push is rejected. Maybe they do pull down an additional commit and they undo the previous one, but they undo someone else's. So I actually think that might cause problems. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it. Maybe we should use it because it will protect our repo if something is missing in the Git Ignore local or global. But I think it should be a last resort. I really don't think it should replace the Git local or global ignore. The other thing to bear in mind is this is managed via the maintainer, or maybe even the repo author or admin, and it's managed by the GUI. So there's pros and cons to that. The pros is it's really easy to kind of do it and see it. The con is, the downside is that it's not versioned. So if something is changed and someone says, I've made a change, we don't know what that change is. It's very hard to keep track of that. Yes, there is now the activity file for the repo, so we might be able to kind of find that and see that. But again, it's not as nice with what you're used to with actual text files in the repo. Maybe this will make it to the .github folder where we can put in a config file. Another kind of GitHub Ignore in this case, where we can list with wildcards, as you can see here, restricted paths, GitHub workflow, wildcard. Maybe that will end up in another config file, but then why don't we just use the Git Ignore? I guess with the Git Ignore, people could add the file and force it, whereas in this case, because it's part of the repo, it actually won't make it into the repository. But I rarely find that happens. I don't find people use git force if the file is ignored by Git, local or global, in a situation. So I don't know if I would use this. Do let me know in the comments below if this is something you would use and how you would use it and why. I'm really curious. I think it's a nice feature to have, but it's just a nice to have. I don't think it's something I would be using. Do let me know. I think it's an important discussion piece. GitHub are bringing out so many amazing features. Let me know also in the comments below what features you'd like me to cover from GitHub. And while you're down there, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe below. Come and geek out with me in the GitHub community. We're there every day geeking out about open source. I'll see you there.